Lacey here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Tarot Memoirs. It has been a good hot minute since I filmed one of these. I think my last one went up in like September, but we're making our way through. So if you haven't seen Tarot Memoirs before, it is the first series I started on my channel, and it is a series where I go through the entire tarot, all 78 cards, and for each card or group of cards, such as in the Minor Arcana, I share with you some meanings from my favorite tarot books. I share some images from my deck collection of those cards, and I also share some personal experiences, memories, and like the way that this energy from those cards shows up in my life. So it's kind of a memoir series as well. So that is what it's all about. The books that I like to use has changed throughout the series. So in the Major Arcana, I used Kitchen Table Tarot by Melissa Sonova. I used 78 Degrees of Wisdom by Rachel Pollack, and I used Holistic Tarot by Benabel Wen. As I moved into the minors, I switched things up a bit, and for the aces through the fives, I still used Kitchen Table Tarot. I also used Yoav Bendov's Marseille Tarot Revealed, and I have used the Druid Craft Tarot Guidebook. I have to keep my throat moist because I have a tickle. But anyway, now that I'm in the sixes through the tens, I'm switching that up a bit. So I will be using Kitchen Table Tarot still, and I'm going to be using for Marseille the Untold Tarot, and I'm going to leave it at these two for the sixes through the tens. So I'm hoping that this gives you an idea of how the different books work, but also how things evolve over time. I've been working on this series since I believe around August or September, well, maybe actually a little bit later, maybe like September, October of 2018. So this has been a very long project. When I move into the quartz, I'm going to change things up again, which makes sense because the quartz are going to have a different feel. But I'm going to just dive right in. Today we are looking at the sixes. So I have our Rider-Waite-Smith sixes here. This is the Centennial edition, and I love the colorings of these cards. So I'm going to move through the book and we'll talk about each of the sixes, and we'll go from there. So I'm going to dive right in to Kitchen Table Tarot. We're going to talk first about the Six of Wands. Hers is in a slightly different order, but I want to work from Wands, Swords, Cups, Pentacles. So the Six of Wands. Now, sixes in general, according to Melissa Sonova, are about recognition. The sixes are all about recognition. They want you to be aware of where you are, what you have around you, and what you need to do next. They are present-oriented cards. I think this is really important because when we're talking about the fives were all about conflict. I find it really interesting for myself personally that I stalled out around September of 2019 at the fives, because I was actually in a period of my life where I was dealing with a lot of like struggle and conflict, a lot of that internal, but some of it external. And as I moved through that whole situation, I thought it was kind of interesting that now I get to jump back in and I'm in the sixes, which is kind of where I'm at in my life now too. So let's start with the Six of Wands. So here we have this figure who is riding a horse. Now this card, according to Melissa Sonova, is about generosity, both spiritual and financial. Oh no, that's Pentacles. I jumped ahead of myself, sorry. This card is the element of look what I've done, see my accomplishments. So it's self-confidence, a little bit of swagger, and a whole lot of pride. Reversed, it could be becoming so full of yourself that it's all you can think or talk about. It also speaks about a lack of confidence that's expressed in either diffidence or arrogance. Now, as a reminder, I don't read reversals, but I certainly look at shadow aspects of cards when I'm reading in a spread, for example. If the spread question or prompt is like a more shadowy question, like what's blocking you, I would be looking at this as if it were reversed. So I would be working with reversed meanings. I talk about that in my Tarot by the Book series. If you haven't seen Tarot by the Book, I will link the playlist for Tarot by the Book up in the cards, but it's a weekly series where I do a reading and then we look at the book and we compare and contrast and all that good stuff. So Six of Wands according to Melissa Sonova. Let's take a look now at the the Six of Swords. So in the Six of Swords, one of the things that she says here, put it in the middle so you can see it better. Water has an important role in this card. The passengers are ferrying themselves and their belongings across a river from rough water to smooth. They are determined to make a change in their lives and are not going back. They're protected in the back by the man who is rowing them to safety. They're pointed toward new opportunities and growth, and they just need to keep going. Now reversed, stuck, stuck, stuck. The thing that keeps us from moving into the future is usually baggage we're dragging around from the past. And this is an important note as a reader because you see that the 6 swords are in the boat with them. And I find this useful when I'm reading because sometimes it means we're still clinging to those conflicts or to those experiences that we've had, but we are trying to move away from them. So it's worth being aware of where that stuff is happening. When we're looking at the 6 of Cups, we're looking at a more nostalgic image. So we have these 2 children here playing. And Melissa says about the 6 of Cups, let me just find the page here. It has that, oh, nope. Back into the wands. Here we go. So this is definitely about sort of silliness, joy, radiating happiness, and nostalgia are what lives in this card. It's about embracing the joy of being a child, even as a 38-year-old or a 68-year-old. It's about holding tight to magic because that is the counterbalance to all the other things that are so terribly serious and heavy. Now, when you're looking at this card in the reversal, according to Melissa Sonova, you're looking at not being able to live your whole life drinking from the 6 of Cups. So immaturity, complete naivete can definitely be an indicator of this card in its shadow. I also see this sometimes as rose-colored glasses, looking at things a little bit too optimistically when you need to really get grounded and get realistic. It can also be about constantly trying to live up to who you used to be. So if you're too stuck in the past, you can end up spending too much time just looking backward and not enough time looking at what situations are present right now. And then finally we have the 6 of Pentacles, which tends to be our generosity card. And here we have, it's about generosity, both spiritual and financial. If we take the money aspect away from the Pentacles, we can call this generosity of spirit, of body, and of mind. So this can be listening to a friend, being a kind and caring lover, helping a friend find their lost parent, etc. When we're looking at this in a reversal or a shadow aspect, we're looking at falling, this is what Melissa says, falling into debt is like stealing from yourself. I thought that was really interesting. So it can speak about debt. Also, stealing from other people eats a little bit of you away. Anytime you diminish the light of another human being, you diminish your light as well. Oh my God, my nose is so itchy. Sorry, I'm gonna itch my nose on camera. I probably shouldn't be doing that. Okay. So that was the 6 of Coins, or 6 of Pentacles rather. So now let's take a look at the Marseille 6s. So I'm just gonna move these cards out of the way a little bit. Let's flip them over so that I can more easily dive into the other images in a moment. Okay. So in Marseille or in Pip decks, you just get these 6 wands. Now here we have 2 double 3s, or a double 3, I should say. Now 3s are about growth. So when you're looking at a 6, you've got double growth. So for me, numerologically, oh, I was gonna refer to my own notes, but I forgot. Okay, that's okay. So for me, 6s are about harmony and about balance, but also in a growing aspect. You're sort of moving into a period of extended growth or of buoyed growth or bigger growth. So 6 of Wands, when we're looking at it from that perspective and we're looking at like sort of the responsibilities and the projects that we undergo, the 6s are often a time of success and really finding our stride. So in Untold Tarot, it says that for 6s in general, Caitlin Matthews is the author of this book. She says, 6s show us community in action, how we gather together or coordinate, self-govern, and make things work in our society through our actions and use of resources, the creation of safe communities. It shows us the nesting boxes or collective networks that create or destroy our whole world and under those whose influences we exist. Doing unto others as would be done as we would be done governs the 6s. They reveal our connections, trust, and sincerity, and they also deal with our desires and their consequences. So for Wands or batons in the Marseille, she says passions and enthusiasms, social or professional groupings, social networks and clubs, educating the community, politics, government, education, being socially responsible, professional immunity, a library or a university. And in the reverse, a despotic government, a tyrant, social malaise and unrest, ignoring friends, social or personal breakdown. So she looks at this through the lens of more traditional Marseille. We're looking at 6s as being community. So we're looking at the positive aspects of community and upright, and in reverse or shadow, we're looking at the negative things that come into community and break them up. Looking at the 6 of Swords, so taking that same sort of idea and applying it to the suit of mental energy, we have aspirations, ideological community or a faith group, finding a new community, a think tank or a spiritual conference, being proactive as a champion or advocate, a church, temple, or place of worship. And then in the reverse, plans that fester, war, departure, or exile from a faith community, a finalized divorce or separation, revoking ethical mandates, that sort of thing. So we're looking at sort of the 6s being sort of that idea of mental community or how we connect to people through our ideals or our ideas. In the 6 of Cups, pleasures. So we're looking at the realm of emotion and that sort of idea of harmony and of double growth and all that kind of thing. But in traditional Marseille, looking at it through pleasures, your immediate circle of friends and family, which makes sense. When we think of our emotional community, who do we think of? The people that make up our chosen family, our personal networks, that sort of thing. Family values, sanctuary of the household, the hearth, what is familiar or accustomed, local community. And then reverse, we can look at personal passions that injure the web of friendship, avoiding your nearest and dearest, caring for yourself. So maybe pulling some of this emotional energy back and using it for your own needs. And then the 6 of coins, we have a rebalancing of finances. What's interesting to me is the sort of arrow shape that this particular deck, this is the Mythical Creatures Tarot, by the way, I should have mentioned that, by Baba Studio. So 6 of deniers, coins or pentacles, depending on how you want to view it. Values, international community, welfare and charity in the community. Commonwealth, roundtable or United Nations style discussions, environmental concerns, decorating or beautifying your surrounding, or caring for the world at large. And then shadow, it would be a financial recession, being a cog in the machine, miserliness. So we're looking at this as 6s and about charity and community. We see that in the 6 of Pentacles. So there's some overlap between this and the Rider-Waite-Smith 6. So that gives us a general idea of both the Marseille perspective on the 6s and the Rider-Waite-Smith perspective on the 6s. Let's take a look at some cards from my collection. So let's look first at the 6 of Wands. So here I have the Wise Dog Tarot, and we have this sort of proud doggo up here, and these other dogs are kind of looking up to him. So you get that idea of success and recognition. This is the, oh my gosh, why am I spacing? Same, it's like the Landscape Tarot. Oh my gosh, why can't I remember the name of this? Somebody's going to be screaming at the monitor right now. It's new. Majestic Earth Tarot. Oh my gosh, that was bugging me. So here we have some riders on horseback here. It's sort of in the foreground. I'm going to bring it in really close so you can see and so I can see. So we have these riders on horseback here, kind of coming back or returning from perhaps a battle or something like that. And it says accolades, jubilation, expectation, and good news. So in this deck, it's the trees suit. Next, I have the Playful Heart Tarot by Zara Kitten Chops, and we have this very successful boy here holding up his medal. He's got this number 1 on, he's holding up his wand, he's very, very pleased, and all these little friendly creatures down at the bottom are like cheering for him, so it's that external sort of recognition. And finally, we have the Shadowscapes 6 of Wands. Now, the Shadowscapes Tarot definitely looks a little bit more at the shadow aspects of cards in general. And here we have this sort of creature who, you don't know who we're really celebrating, right? There's all these people underneath in this costume, and then there's sort of a stack of creatures happening here. And this kind of makes me think of success when it comes on other people's backs. Like, is this person here under this, or these several people here actually underneath getting any recognition, or is this creature or these creatures at the forefront or up top, are they claiming all of that recognition without sharing it, without admitting that this was a team effort, that there's more to it than that? So there's a little bit of hogging that recognition that I feel like comes through in this particular card. So that is some cards from my collection. Let me share some of my thoughts on how this energy shows up in my life. So, that was the 6 of, oh my gosh, that was only the 6 of, those are only 6s of Wands. We need to talk about swords and stuff. Okay. Yes, I got this. So I'm going to talk about 6 of Wands memoirs, then we're going to talk about the swords, cups, pentacles, which I think is a little different than I did at aces through 5s, but bear with me. So 6 of Wands, every day, this is my I did it energy. This is that energy when you feel like you just accomplished something, sometimes a small task. For me, most recently, a really good example of this in an everyday way is finishing our taxes. I really didn't want to do it, but then once I did it, I was super proud of myself. It was like that. It's kind of like that. In a more memorable way, my nose is still so itchy. Oh my goodness. One of the bigger ways that this type of energy shows up is during or after any sort of public speaking that I have done or do. There's something about being on stage and talking passionately about stuff that I'm super excited about or feel strongly about, and then having that experience after that presentation or after that talk of having people come up to you and say that this meant something to them, that it was helpful to them in some way, that it helped them have a breakthrough of some kind. That is like the most rewarding feeling ever. And so 2 of those that comes to mind is I did a talk at a Love Your Body Summit, and it was so moving, the types of stories that I heard from people after when they came up to me and talked to me about their story. And it also was, another example of this was when I spoke at Northwest Tarot Symposium. It was a similar experience. I got to share about something that's really exciting and that I'm passionate about, and then got to hear from people afterwards about how that talk affected them or how it helped them or what resonated for them. And I just find that really, really rewarding. So let's look at Six of Swords. So the swords in my collection here, we're gonna look at the same cards. So we have the Wise Dog Tarot here, and we sort of have a mama duck that's ferrying her baby ducks across the water. And it's kind of like this dog is sort of helping or assisting or guarding and protecting during that process. We have from the Majestic Earth Tarot the keywords transition, journey, persevere, and passage. And we have, again, a similar fairy ride where we have a ferryman sort of looking after it. And the figures are small in this deck because the emphasis is on the landscape. In the Six of Swords, the Playful Heart Tarot, we have this sort of parental or guardian type figure taking away these small children from maybe something that was not great for them, protecting them and helping to usher them into something a little bit safer and calmer. Interestingly here, I love this in the shadow aspect. We see the Shadowscapes Tarot, Shadowland Tarot, not Shadowscapes. If I called it Shadowscapes, I'm sorry. But in the Shadowland Tarot, we have same idea. We have the ferryman, we have the boat guiding them to smoother waters, but they've brought this huge dragon with them. This makes me think of like the elephant in the room. When you're sort of trying to move away from drama, but you're actually bringing the drama with you. That's what this makes me think of. So that's the shadow aspect. As for me, Six of Swords, every day, from rough waters to smooth. So every time I navigate a difficult moment and move forward without holding on to the ick that maybe just happened or the conflict or the disruption. So if Peggy and I have like an argument, and then the Six of Swords is kind of the moment where we hug and we like recognize that, okay, we've had this difficult moment, now we can learn and we can move forward in a healthier way. We're still learning and growing from those experiences, and that sort of moment of sort of, okay, everything's okay, now we need to move forward. That's the Six of Swords to me as an everyday thing. Big. So one of the most memorable Six of Swords moments I had in my own personal life was when I recognized that I was having a really difficult personal situation with a lot of conflict and drama. And at a certain point, I realized I had to step consciously away from that drama and away from that conflict and start stepping forward, which meant like loosening my grip. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I go through something where there's a lot of conflict or a lot of drama, it almost becomes, the attachment to that drama can become something that becomes a crutch, almost like you kind of just cling to it and hover over it and obsess over it. And at a certain point, for me, I have to consciously put that aside and then move forward. And so in big ways, Six of Swords is those moments when I'm finally releasing the grip on that drama or on that conflict and actually stepping forward into the future. Kind of general, but also I've had several big moments like that in my life. So let's take a look now at the Six of Cups. This card is near and dear to my heart because I love me my inner child fun times. So here we have our Six of Cups in the Wise Dog Tarot, and you see this idea of like all these different little flowers here and sort of just like, yes, look at all these flowers, they're so great. And we have this very youthful looking doggo here. In the Majestic Earth Tarot, we have Memories, Tides, Innocence, and Nostalgia, and I freaking love this card. So we're at the ocean, but you see this image of this figure up here, and you get this real idea of sort of looking back and being wistful. And I've had moments like this actually at the beach. So this really speaks to me, this idea of sort of just like longing. And you could think of maybe somebody even who's gone out to sea, that sort of idea of wistful and longing energy for the past. So that's what that speaks of to me. In the Playful Heart Tarot, we have this great little innocent moment, these two figures having, you know, some tea or, you know, this like happy childhood memory. It looks very idyllic. And this could be something that you could really just fixate on as that like one really happy memory to cling to. So that's kind of what that reminds me of a bit. And then in the Shadowland Tarot, we have a similar tea party idea just within the world of the Shadowland Tarot. So it's very kind of gothic, creepy. But hey, they have their nostalgia. But it's really, if you think about it, very similar to the feel of the Playful Heart, just in its own little world, right? So really like that. I don't know that it really shows the shadow side of the card as much. I probably could spend some more time with it and find it. I noticed that one of the characters anyway is wearing a mask. So this could also be speaking to the masks we wear in order to maintain these idyllic conditions, which is interesting. So see, I found it there. So for me, 6 of Cups energy every day is anytime I'm engaging actively in inner child work, or when I just let my inner child kind of fly free without worrying about what anybody else is going to think. But in a big way, one of the most memorable times that I had like this was in my mid-20s, and my then polyamorous family took me out to Chuck E. Cheese. I think it was like my 25th birthday or something along those lines. All the adults were totally all into this experience. The gifts that were given were very inner child friendly. We all played the games. It was a very young at heart kind of experience. And it was like really cool to have a whole day of just immersing myself in that energy. And I've done this a bunch of times since, but that was the first time I never really had that experience in such a safe and loving and nurturing way. So that was really fantastic. Let's dive into 6 of Pentacles next. So in our Wise Dog Tarot, this is really great. We have, oh, this is interesting. Ooh, okay, sorry, I just was taking this in. So we have the 6 pentacles down the side, and we have hands here and a doggo here, and we have this scale. We have this big heart here, and then this little kind of like shriveled up heart there. And I think it's this idea of how you come at generosity. How do you give? Do you give from a place of really big-heartedness, or is it a place of greed or stinginess or self-gain that you're looking for? So that's an interesting aspect to that card. In the Majestic Earth Tarot, we have the 6 of Stone, and it says measuring, charity, kindness, and giving. And we have these women here feeding the chickens. So they're sharing their grain, their harvest with their livestock to keep them healthy. In the Playful Heart Tarot, we have, oh, this is so cute. So you have these two over here having their little tea party. Is it tea party? Why am I seeing that? Yeah, they're just kind of playing. They're sort of enjoying each other's company over here. And then this character here is kind of letting them have this moment. It kind of feels like a parent who doesn't want to disturb the children who are doing their own thing. So there's this sort of charity of allowing them that space to have that moment. But then up here you have a mama bird feeding the baby bird. So we have the charity happening there. And then there's all this like sort of abundance happening. It's a very happy card. I feel like I'd want to spend a little bit more time with this one, but I feel like I definitely got some juicy bits off of that image. And then finally in the Shadowland Tarot, we have this exchange of gifts. So we have a vampire giving a gift to a ghost. Ghost is giving a gift back to the vampire. And then even in these smaller figures here, you have an exchange. In one case, they're exchanging hearts. In the other, they're exchanging, it looks like pieces of fruit, like apples or plums or something. So there's a very equal give and take in this card. So that's another one where I feel like I don't necessarily see the shadow. It's a really cool way to show all the different ways that being generous back and forth can kind of trickle down in the system, so to speak. For me, the 6 of Pentacles is about going out of your way to do something nice for somebody else. So in an everyday way, this can be as simple as picking up the tab for the person behind you in line at the coffee bar, or did I lose my train of thought? Oh, that was the other example I wrote down, was also just sometimes smiling at somebody who looks like they're having a tough day. Classic 6 of Pentacles moments, Peggy and I often have to go to the post office to ship for her Etsy shop. So sometimes we go and the staff there seems to be having a good day, and sometimes we go and you can tell they've had a difficult day. And so when you take that extra time to kind of joke with them, to kind of bring the mood up, smile, laugh, like bring some of the joy, that is a 6 of Pentacles kind of moment. You're still sharing of yourself. You're trying to do something for the benefit of somebody else. In a big way, one of the big things that sort of I thought of when I was thinking about charity and experiences in my life was there was in Alberta, BC about 5 or 6 years ago, it may have been less time, there was in Fort McMurray, there was a whole bunch of horrible fires. And at the time I had closed my yoga studio not long before that point. And so Peggy and I worked together. We put together an entire fundraiser. We brought in silent auction donations. We brought in a bunch of other teachers and service providers. We had people doing Reiki healing, and all this stuff was by donation. Not a single penny was spent. Every single penny that came in was then donated to the Red Cross for this Fort McMurray Fire Fund. And it was one of the most rewarding things, and it was so much fun and so awesome just to see the community come together like that and everybody participate in whatever way they could, whether it was attending a class by donation, whether it was donating something to be given away or auctioned off, like whatever it was, everybody came together. And that's the kind of spirit, I think, of the 6 of Pentacles in a big way, how it can show up. And that was really an awesome thing to be able to take part in. So yeah, that is it for the 6s, my friends. These are, I think, really all about moments where we tend to look Where's my other? Nope, those are 7s. What am I doing? What am I doing, Lisa? I want to recap these 7s. Where are the 6s? Oh my gosh. As you can tell, I'm doing a bunch of these at once. So, well, here's a couple. So 6 of Pentacles, 6 of Wands. I'm all discombobulated, but hopefully that gives you an idea of how the 6 energy can show up. I would love, love, love down below in the comments if you can, not only for me, but for other people who come by and read the comments, share your thoughts on the 6s or share any experiences you've had where you feel like that 6 energy has shown up, whether it's swords, cups, pentacles, or wands. Where have you experienced 6 energy? And can you see, or do you see, where the 6 energy between all 4 suits sort of overlaps, like what they have in common? For me, there's a real harmonizing happening in the 6s of all of the suits, right? There's a harmonizing and a balancing happening. In the wands, it's this balance of I've done all this work and now I get this recognition. In the swords, it's I've been through this tough time, but now I get to move forward. In the cups, it's like I get to kind of balance maybe current life stress and pressure with past or inner child sort of joy and lightness. And then in the pentacles, it's about like I've been through loss, so now I'm going to share when other people are having a hard time. It's this sort of balancing of the scales kind of moment, which I think is really cool. So that is what I have to say about the 6s. I will see you in the next video. Remember to like, share, subscribe. I will have the full Tarot Memoirs playlist available. Be aware the first videos I filmed in this series were when I was brand new to YouTube. So that's me in the beginning of my YouTube journey. So if you just want to enjoy that experience. Plus, I tell a really good story in The Fool, so go check that out. Anyway, I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye!